Hello students, how are you? Let's talk about some compressions. Okay, how to make compressions. Compressions using the same as, similar to, and different from. If you look at these shapes, A and B are the same, or A is the same as B. Let's come to these shapes. C and D are similar. C is similar to D, and these two shapes are different. E and F are different. E is different from F. Compressions using like and alike. You have a ballpoint pen with blue ink. I have a ballpoint pen with blue ink. A. Your pen is like my pen. B. Your pen and my pen are alike. C. Our pens are alike. Like, similar to. Alike, similar. Like and alike have the same meaning, but the sentence patterns are different. This plus be plus like plus that. This and that plus be plus alike. The comparative using er and more. Mary is 25 years old. John is 20 years old. A. Mary is older than John. B. Health is more important than money. Incorrect to say Mary is more older than John. Incorrect to say Mary is more old than John. Also incorrect to say health is importanter than money. When we use adjectives, example old, important, to compare two people or two things, the adjectives have special forms. In A, we add er to an adjective, or in B, we use more in front of an adjective. The use of er or more is called the comparative form, or in comparative form, we compare two things or two people with two other. It means one with one, two, or two. Notice, in the examples, than follows the comparative form. Older than, more important than. Here we have some adjectives with their syllables. Adjectives with one syllable: big, bigger. Adjectives, comparative forms: big, bigger; cheap, cheaper; old, older. Okay? Add er to one syllable adjectives. Spelling note: if an adjective ends in one vowel and one consonant, double the consonant, like big, bigger; fat, fatter; hot, hotter, etc. Adjectives that end in y: funny, funnier; pretty, prettier. If an adjective ends in y, change the y to I and add er. Adjectives with two or more syllables: famous, more famous; important, more important; interesting, more interesting. Use more in front of adjectives that have two or more syllables, except adjectives that end in y. Irregular comparative forms: good, better; bad, worse; far, farther, or further. The comparative forms of good, bad, and far are irregular. It means we have to memorize them. The superlative: using est and most. A. Comparative. My thumb is shorter than my index finger. Superlative. My hand has 5 fingers. My thumb is the shortest finger of all, or the shortest of all, or the shortest. It gives the idea that you compared your thumb with other fingers. The comparative er or more compares two things or people. The superlative est or most compares 3 or more things or people. Rules. Adjectives with one syllable. What are those adjectives? For example, old, comparative, older than. You add than after each comparative adjective. Old, older than. Big, bigger than. Now let's come to superlative. Old, older than. In superlative, the oldest of all, or the oldest. The biggest, big, bigger than. The biggest. The biggest, when we say the biggest, it means the biggest of all. You compare one thing with all the group, with the whole group, with more than one. Adjectives that end in y, pretty. Change y to I, prettier than. Easy. Change y to I, easier than. The prettiest of all, the easiest of all. The same rule, only change er to est. The prettier than, the prettiest of all, or the prettiest, or the easiest. Adjectives with 2 or more syllables, like expensive. If we count the syllables, expensive, it means this adjective has more than one syllable, 3 syllables. What should we do? Shall we add er or est at the end in order to change it to comparative or superlative forms? No, we use more for comparative forms and the most for superlative forms. Okay, expensive, more expensive than. Important, more important than. Or the most expensive. Of what? Of all. The most important of what? Of all. Let's come to some irregular forms. We have some irregular adjectives like good. So their forms are completely changed. Better than, the best of all, bad. Worse, the worst. Worse than, the worst of all. Far, further, further than. The farthest of all. Using one of plus superlative plus plural noun. A. The Amazon is one of the longest rivers in the world. B. A Rolls Royce is one of the most expensive cars in the world. C. Elias is one of the most intelligent people in our class. The superlative often follows one of. Notice the pattern. One of plus superlative plus plural noun. Using that in comparisons. A. John is rich, comma, but Mary is poor. B. The weather was cold, but we were warm inside our house. But gives the idea that this is the opposite of that. A comma usually precedes but. Using verbs after but. Affirmative verb plus but plus negative verb. A. John is rich. We use comma. But Mary isn't. John is rich, but Mary isn't. B. Balls are round. but boxes aren't. C. I was in class, but Pooh wasn't. D. Sue studies hard, but some doesn't. E. We like movies, but they don't. F. Alex came, but Maria didn't. G. People can talk, but animals can't. H. Olga will be there, but Yvonne won't. Now let's come down to another structure or pattern. Negative verb plus but plus affirmative verb. I. Mary isn't rich, but John is. J. Boxes aren't round, but balls are. K. Pooh wasn't in class, but I was. L. Sam doesn't study, but Sue does. M. They don't like cats, but we do. N. Maria didn't come, but Alex did. O. Animals can't talk, but people can. P. Yvonne won't be there, but Olga will. Often the verb phrase following but is shortened, as in the examples. Making comparisons with adverbs. A. Kim speaks more fluently than Ellie does. B. Anna speaks the most fluently of all. C. Liz speaks more quickly. Comparative, superlative. A. More fluently. Superlative, the most fluently. B. More slowly. Superlative, the most slowly. C. More quickly. Superlative, the most quickly. Use more and most with adverbs that end in ly, like fluently, slowly, quickly. More fluently, more slowly, more quickly, or the most fluently, the most slowly, or the most quickly. A. Mike worked harder than Sam did. Sue worked the hardest of all. A. Harder. B. Faster. C. Earlier. D. Later. All these are in comparative forms. A. The hardest, the fastest, the earliest, the latest. Use ER and EST with irregular adverbs. Hard, fast, early, late. A. Rosa writes better than I do. B. Kim writes the best of all. Okay, better. The best. Better and best are forms of the adverbs well. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel for more videos.